Welcome to part 3 of my review of the Microsoft Surface Pro. In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Surface Pro with Corel Painter X3 and Photoshop CC, maybe a few other programs if I have the time. So I'm sitting here in my chair relaxing, I'm kicked back, I have my stylus here, my bamboo feel stylus, and I have my Surface Pro configured with the Wacom field drivers so that the pressure sensitivity works, and a whole bunch of other tweaks to make this very nice and comfortable for digital painting without having to rely on a keyboard or anything else. So I'm going to use my Art Dock shortcuts with my thumb, and I'm going to draw with my stylus in my right hand. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new document in Painter, and I'm just going to do a little doodle, kind of how I would do it if I was just here sketching, which I am. So I'll give you kind of an idea of how this thing can be used. So I'm just going to create a new layer here. I'm going to hit Tab, make my palettes go away, so now I have this nice full area of my tablet to be able to draw. And I'll just maybe sketch some sort of face real quick because that's easy to do. And drawing with this pen and this pen pressure is really natural. You can get really thin lines and really thick lines very easily. It feels really nice and smooth, even with the stock stylus that comes with the tablet. But I really like this Wacom stylus. It's a bit smoother. It kind of has a rubber tip. It's not as noisy as the plastic stylus that comes with the Surface. I'll just kind of doodle in some person. I don't know who or what this is supposed to be per se, but gives you an idea of how you can doodle just like you would in your sketchbook, and that's what I like about this. I can take this out anywhere. It's still a little cold now here in Seattle, but when it gets warmer out, I'm going to go out to the lake that I live nearby, and I'm going to paint. And it's going to be really fun. That's part of the reason why I got this. I really look forward to that because in the last couple of years I've been using the iPad. The iPad is just really weak. I always really wanted there to be something that was like the iPad but could run a full version of Corel Painter. And the Surface Pro does a great job of that. It runs it just as well as my desktop computer. So this is really just like a computer that I can bring anywhere with me, and I can do drawing, and I like that a lot. So there's kind of a doodle of some person there. Now, of course, I'm not going to spend hours and hours drawing because that's not what this video is about, but this gives you an idea. I can assign this and call this good. I can save it if I want to, but I'm not going to in this case. I'm just going to close it out, and we'll move on to the next demo, which will be Photoshop CC. Just double click to open it, and it opens really fast. Just takes a couple seconds to open. And there you go, you have Photoshop. And this isn't some light version of Photoshop, this is the full version. You can do anything you want to do with Photoshop with it. Now, I don't really need these touch shortcuts, so I'm just going to put them out of the way. One thing I can say about Photoshop that's not necessarily a positive thing is that unless I find a way to change this, the fonts and all the tools are a little small, but that's okay. I don't really plan to be doing a whole lot in Photoshop, honestly, other than maybe some minor editing. I'll be doing most of my painting with Corel Painter. Let's just take a look at what can be done. So I'm going to go to New, make a new canvas here. We'll take the type tool and we'll place some type here. Now, a lot of this stuff starts out kind of small, which is kind of a pain. And not having a keyboard is tough because I'm used to having the keyboard shortcuts. I could hook up my keyboard, but I'm not going to. I just kind of want to be kind of casual here. Scale up my type. And you could really do graphic design on this. I could see myself doing logos and layouts for things. The screen's clear enough, it's big enough, it takes a little getting used to because I work on a 47-inch TV, which is way bigger than this, but this isn't bad. Okay, so we have some type. Let's take a look at doing some intense filters, some things that would normally really slow down your computer. We'll do a blur, and we'll do an iris blur, and we'll rasterize our type, and we'll turn our blur way up. You can see that this preview, this is working real time. I mean, this works, pretty much instantaneously. And I can scarcely say that for my desktop, which has much better specs. So this is doing a pretty good job. We can go ahead and render this. We'll go to OK. It's there, it's instantly rendered. Now, if we want to go back a few steps to before we rasterize that text, we can go to 3D. And we can do 3D extrusion from selected layer to check out the 3D effects. So we'll switch to the 3D workspace. And there you go, you can see if we want to rotate things, we can. And this is working in real time. And this is working pretty fast. And for being a little tiny little tablet, to have this kind of 3D capability is pretty remarkable. I'm not really going to try it with 3D games, because I don't really plan to play games on here, but I'm guessing that if it runs Photoshop this well for the 3D, it's probably going to run some, some older games that are in 3D that aren't too demanding. Might be kind of hard to play unless you have a keyboard though. But again, gaming's not really what I'm going to do. We could take a look at rendering this if we want to. Just let it do its thing here. Now this isn't really it's not a very big canvas, so this isn't a very demanding render. But you can see, it's doing a pretty good job. Now I don't have an escape key on my keyboard to hit, so hopefully doing it with the on-screen keyboard will work, and it did. So we'll hide that. So there's Photoshop. I'm not going to go into everything because those are really the most processor intensive things that you can do in Photoshop. So we still have a little bit of time. I'm not getting too long-winded here. Let's look at Illustrator, CC. And the interface is much bigger. I like that. It's designed more for a touch screen. Take the paintbrush here and do some quick sketching. This works really well for inking. As I mentioned earlier, I can totally see myself doing some logos with the tablet rather than on my desktop. And if I'm out somewhere with Wi-Fi and a client emails me and says, hey, there's an emergency, I need you to tweak this logo or do something to this file, I could just bust out this tablet and probably get the task done rather than have to worry about, going home or disappointing the client. But you can see it works well for Illustrator. Close that out. And we'll just take a look at one more Microsoft Expression Design. This is a good free program. It's a little old, but it still does the trick for vector drawing. So I will make a new canvas here. And the cool thing about this program is that there's this B-spline, and the B-spline is kind of like the Bezier pen, but it works a little better for drawing, I think. It's easier to use. Let's get a wider stroke width here, and let's draw a shape using the B-spline. You just kind of tap and make points, and it just works way better than the Bezier pen does, in my opinion, to draw, because I've never been good at drawing with the Bezier pen, and this tends to work really well. It's a little tricky to use with the stylus because the screen's so small, and of course you would need a keyboard to use some of the keyboard commands to make corner points and things. But you could also use the Art Dock feature to do some of that. So that is the end of my review of the Microsoft Surface Pro. I highly recommend this tablet for anybody who wants a nice portable sketchbook that they can take with them. That's also something that they can rely upon as a very functional and powerful computer to do things more than just drawing. And, you know, like I said earlier, I'm going to take this out a lot, go out to the lake, plug in my headphones, listen to music, you know, take it out to a cafe or to the pub and use the Wi-Fi and do some drawings. I mean, I can really draw anywhere. I love this tablet. It's really awesome. So I highly recommend it, and if you found this information helpful, take a quick second to like this video and share it on YouTube, and that'll make it easier for other artists out there to find this information. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for my next video.